Hey, what's happening, guys? Dan Darrow here with another Options to Play video update. So, I hope you all had a fantastic week, and I hope you are excited for earnings season because it will be here before you know it. So, only a few more days to wait, and then we get the banks kicking us off on Friday. So, it's going to pick up really, really quick. Uh, I talked about in last night's letter and a little bit during most of last week how I'm looking for rotation. Okay, we've had a really nice move higher in the overall market, right? And tech has led us higher. A lot of like the big cap tech names have done a lot of the heavy lifting, software stocks, China tech, right? So on and so forth. So tech has gotten us to this point. And now, if we're going to continue to kind of grind higher, what you're looking for is participation in other areas, right? So one of the hallmarks of like the 2018 move for good portions of like the summer, and then what we saw in 2017 was just like this really strong under the surface rotation. I mean, you'd have leading sectors pause, then other sectors would pick up the baton and they would start to run, right? So it was just kind of rotation from like one sector to the next. Like money wasn't leaving the overall averages; it was just kind of cycling between different areas, right? So it's different groups, different names, different sectors. So you're probably, like, okay, that's great. Why energy, right? Well, first of all, I feel like energy is just setting up nicely, just in and of itself, right? So this is the XLE. So, um, it's basically pushing up into the top of resistance, right? Um, so just in that sense alone, right? It's kind of like this really nice little you get this nice little pennant that's formed right at a key resistance level, starting to like break through it, and then something that's lagged. So while the overall market's been strong in March, XLE is only up marginally, right? So you get a little bit of rotation. It's been some bullish option positioning, right? So I talked about that a little bit. There's been some bullish option positioning in energy, which I like to see, right? Like when you see like overall sector positioning, right? So like one day it's one name, the next day it's another name, right? So for instance, if there was maybe Colbon and Exxon one day, the next day it'd be Chevron, the day after that it was Anadarko, right? So it's not just one name they'd be going after. It'd be like multiple names within a certain sector. It shows that there's interest and participation within a group, right? So you're starting to see that, and then I feel like what maybe is most interesting is when I throw up the chart of USO, right? You can see how substantially how substantial the lag is between what energy is doing and what oil is doing, right? So oil has just been really steadily moving higher over the last month and a half, but yet the XLE is still stuck underneath February prices. Has been in this consolidation, and oftentimes oil is the leader. Okay, and you don't tend to see this type of outperformance in the commodity without participation from like the stocks within the sector, right? Yes, it's starting to go. The XLE is starting to tick higher, right? But there's still like a wide gap between what oil has done over the last month and a half and what energy has done, and that really should start to narrow. You can see like just over, if I go back, you can see oftentimes it's that oil predates or prefaces the moves in the XLE, right? So oil topped out, right? Oil topped out before XLE did in October, right? And then oil, right, bottomed out before the XLE did back in December. And now oil is breaking out and running, and XLE is just starting to tick through it. So it seems as though that like this is a good indicator. So in addition to XLE technically setting up, and you're starting to see bullish positioning in multiple names within like the sector. Now, you also have this move higher in oil recently, which really should translate to the XLE starting to lift, right? Like it's a pretty wide gap that doesn't tend to last very long, right? So the XLE is like the makeup of the XLE is a little bit different, but the XOP is a little bit more specific to the EMP names. So the XLE will have oil field service names and E&P names, and XOP is just more of like the E&P names. Okay, so they're a little bit more sensitive to the price of oil, and you can see that the same. So if I get rid of the USO here, right, you can see similar setup, right? Really flat resistance area right here. Really nice tight little base underneath it, starting to tick through it. And again, when I throw up oil, you can see how much it's been lagging the price of crude, right? And the E&P names, again, more so than like the oil field service names, these ones are very sensitive to the price of oil. So it's a pretty stark gap that's forming right now. And if oil keeps grinding, I mean, it seems that more likely than not, this is going to start to wake up, right? Especially, if you see the market keep grinding, right? Money start to rotate, and oil keep climbing. It just seems that there's multiple tailwinds lining up for the XOP and the XLE and the energy names, and that's why I've been trying to like start to position there, right? I've been talking about it, trying to put it on your guys' radar, just because I'm starting to see things line up, and I feel like it's worth keeping an eye on because we saw it in 2018, we saw it in 2017, right? If the market's just going to have like this really persistent bid to it and just grind higher like day in and day out, then what you want to be on the lookout for is rotation, right? So as one sector cools off, you want to figure out where the money's going to go, right? So the people taking the money out of one place, putting it in somewhere else. So XLE. Also XRTs, you can look at retailers, financials this week. We'll probably determine whether there's money rotating to financials, right? Earnings later this week. So there's plenty of different sectors that are setting up, but XLE and oil seem a little bit more interesting to me. Just XLE seems a little bit more interesting to me just because of what oil's doing. All right. So let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about this. Maybe you're looking at some trade within the energy space, right? Just a particular name. I'd love to hear what you're looking at. If you caught maybe any unusual bullish positioning that I may have missed, I'd love to hear from that. I'd love to hear that also. So definitely reach out. All right. So I hope you guys have a great night, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.